Hi, guys. Welcome to my podcast. And I want you today to welcome my very first guest on my podcast. And this is Petia Kolibova. She's transformation coach for women, and she's such an inspiration for me and such an amazing, kind-hearted woman. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being today with me, Petia.
What an honor, Dasha. I just love it that, like you took that courage. Is like, okay, I want to be doing guests. I want to do it now and just like go for it, dive in it. I think that so very often we're just thinking about the things, but we don't take the courage and really go and do that because so many people are just afraid to take the step and just do something because we're afraid to be judged. We're afraid what other
That's
people will
true.
think. We're afraid that we will fail, right? But I feel like the biggest failure is just like going through the motion and not living the things that are true for us.
Or just not trying. But I just did it so many times. I like ignored my like calling, and I was just scared. I've been through this so many times that now I was just like excited to actually try to to act on my inspiration. And I actually didn't want a guest. Like, I have my podcast just for me to be able to talk, to be able to speak English, because like I live in Russia, and I wanted some practice, and it's just more comfortable for me to speak about the law of attraction and like mindfulness and self-love in English, because I learn in English.
Yeah.
And then I was just talking to you on Instagram, and I was like, it would be so cool to ask you like all these questions that I wanted to ask you, and I asked you on Instagram. And I was like, it would be really cool to like interview you for my podcast. So like you are my guest when I didn't even like, I thought it was going to be like a solo podcast.
Mhm.
And now you're my guest, and I'm so excited. Oh my God. Okay, if I'm gonna be too excited, I will break the internet again. I have to stop.
You won't, please, and be excited, because I remember my grandma, I love her to life. She just passed last month, but she was always my best friend, and I love her so much. But she was always telling me, don't get too excited. When you're too excited, the things won't work out. Like they have this saying in America, like waiting for the other shoe to
To
drop,
drop. Hmm.
like when something bad will happen. And I lived by that for almost 3 decades. And
Oh
when
yeah,
you expect something bad to happen, well, then it will, right?
that's true.
So for me, I just and I love how you said, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if I can ask her all these questions that I have? Wouldn't it be nice to talk to her? Wouldn't it be nice to do it like an interview versus just a solo? And that's what I did in my life, and that's how I attracted the business, the clients, the love of my life. Just got married, right? So
Congratulations. I was going to get back to it a little bit later, but Petia got married like what next sorry, last week, last weekend.
2 weeks ago, yeah, on Sunday, yeah.
Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. This is like such an how does it feel to be a wife now?
It's funny because like my husband, he's very like loving and generous and detail oriented, and I feel like now it's even more, it's like, oh, my wifey, so I feel like we're both enjoying it because it's interesting. The first year that we were together, I have an amazing friend who is a photographer, and I gifted him a session on a beautiful like lake here in Las Vegas. And she was taking pictures of him, but I was there, and she was like, hey guys, do you want a couple pictures together? I'm like, sure. So we like kiss and hug, and she was making pictures, and she was like, guys, enjoy this while it lasts.
Oh my God, those people.
And it's interesting because we look at our back, he was just my boyfriend, right? We just look at each other, we are like, no, this is not temporary. We are planning to be like this for the rest of our lives. Like, I look at the parents of my husband, and they still like hold hands and hug and kiss each other. They're together over 30 years. So I'm like, that's what I'm expecting. So in life, really, you get what you expect.
Yeah,
If you
that's
think
true.
that people are bad, you will find the evidence for it. If you believe that there are good people who want to support you, that's what you will get.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to know that, and you start believing in this more when you have some experience like this. But I remember when I just started working on like shifting limiting beliefs, I knew that like what I expect is gonna happen, but then like there are some beliefs that are like, but this is going to happen even if I change my mind or something like that.
Mm.
So yeah.
One and I hear you, like when we're at the beginning of our journey, you get to also remember that there is like this um things that are coming up still from the past, right? It's not like I will change my belief right now. You still have a
They
momentum
show
from
up.
the past.
Yeah.
But it's just a momentum from the past. Remember that. So the better you feel, the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets. So it's and I started to believe that everything that it's in the highest good of all, it's happening, because sometimes there are things that we won't understand ever, but we also don't know the agreements that people come in with, right? Like the soul agreements, if we want to get a little bit more like spiritual, right?
Sometimes you just want to, have all the maps beforehand and just like,
you know
God, give me like all these contracts.
no, you know
No,
how boring it would be. Just think
I can
about
imagine.
it. It
Yeah,
would be
this is
so boring.
this is what I was talking about. Like when I recorded my first course in Russian, I was talking about how to surrender and trust the universe because I was learning, and I'm still learning, I guess. But yeah, and I was explaining this, that like how Abraham Hicks explains it, when they say that like if you had the map with point A and point B, which is changing constantly, by the way, this is why like you can't have it, because you add more desires to it and like it changes all the time. But you are being human beings, you would just take the shorter trip from point A to point B instead of just enjoying the ride.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like we like being surprised, but the thing is that we want just the positive surprises.
Yeah. Like good surprises, not all the surprises.
Just good surprises, but because you're also like, I saw Esther in person. I was in her workshop.
Oh, this is so cool. How is her energy?
It was amazing. I was
How
feeling like I was like floating in the water.
how was her energy when she wasn't channeling Abraham? Because I noticed that like when she's channeling, she's this like calm and like her voice is low. And when she's like by herself, she's so excited and she's like so alive.
Yeah, I feel like she's like a little fun lady,
Yeah,
when she's not like channeling.
this is so cool. When was it?
That was a couple years ago, before anything happened in the
Uh-huh.
world. So that was in San Diego, where my husband used to live, and then we were both at her party. She was not there, but her crew and her video cameraman and like the people, they were there. It was amazing. It was like people who speak your language, people who
Oh,
like,
yes. This is how
like,
I feel now talking to you.
oh. And it's amazing because like by you putting out this desire, you're attracting more and more people into you who are like you. That's what I noticed in my business. When I started my business, I was just trying to do things that I'm good at instead of
Mm-hmm.
doing the things that light me up. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I became unapologetic about what do I want to do, what do I don't want to do, who do I want to be, it became so easy. Like the clients who come to me, I feel like they're coming from bushes. I'm like, how did you happen? Like I get an email, or I get a like a DM or Facebook message, like, oh, I heard you on a podcast, or I saw you on a show, and like I want to talk to you, I want to work with you. And before, it seems like I was chasing people, and then now I am just like allowing my
Yeah.
people to come in. So it's this receiving and allowing versus pushing and trying to make things
Mm-hmm.
happen.
And your podcast is called Unapologetically Abundant. I was looking for, like, before I talked to you this last, like, first time after like 6 months break. I was trying to look for your podcast because I'm subscribed to it, and I was like, I listened to your podcast, but I just didn't remember the name of it for some reason. And I just remembered unapologetically, like unapologetically something. What? Unapologetically myself, unapologetically, like what was the second word?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Not.
it's funny because when I started my podcast 3.5 years ago, it was called Be Strong Minded.
Strong-minded.
Yes, it was coming like the mind, body, spirit. Be was the being, it was the
Oh,
spiritual body. Strong was the body, the physicality. And then the mind, it was the mindset and mindfulness. But then I realized, and I changed the name a couple of years ago into Unapologetically Abundant, because I realized when I became unapologetically me, with my accent, with my flaws, with my screwy grammar that like it doesn't make sense
it's
sometimes.
so inspiring for me, and I want to talk about it, but I'll
Yeah,
let you finish.
but that's the time when I became really abundant. When I became unapologetically me, that's when the clients they came to me. That's when I connected with the love of my life, because I was being me. I wasn't pretending. I wasn't trying to have a perfect grammar and perfect accent and like doing all the things that other people are doing. I was doing things that I liked, and
Mm-hmm.
my people like it too.
This is so cool, like when you understand it and when you just let yourself be you. You can't live any other way, and then like like your bar gets higher, and then you feel it when you try to be fake, like because of some, I still have, I like when I got married in December 2020. I realized that I can be myself authentically, but not with my husband's parents, because like I still try to be this nice girl so they would like me. And I realized that at some point I even stopped enjoying our time together because I was just not myself. And then I was like, what am I doing? I'm teaching people to be authentic and I'm not. And when I just stopped laughing at jokes that are not funny, and then when I began like speaking my mind, especially like there's still pressure, they're waiting for grandchildren and they're asking me constantly about this. And when I had the gut to say that I'm not planning it, like in the near future, I just felt so good. It was like, oh, I'm finally free. Oh my God. Now like they have an opportunity to think, like to have their opinion, to form their opinion about me, but like it doesn't have to affect me at all. And I felt just so free. Oh my God. It's just,
It is really freeing, and it's interesting because we are so afraid of not disappointing
yeah,
others so they don't abandon us, right? But when you're doing that, when you're not being true to
you
yourself, you're
abandon yourself.
abandoning yourself. And
Yeah.
that's the worst, because the thing is, when you think about it, we teach other people how to treat us the way we treat ourselves.
Yes. Oh my God, you're just reading my mind. This was like the last video. I know. This was like the last video I recorded that I was saying exactly that. Like you
Mhm,
teach by your own example.
mhm.
I'm trying to do this with the money mindset now because
You're
like,
not trying, you're doing it. You're not trying, you're doing it. That's a
oh,
different.
yeah, okay. Right. Yes, teacher. I wanted to talk to you about the accent actually, because when we spoke on Instagram, I asked you how did you like break through this perfectionism, And you said that, you just need to speak to the right people. And you, like, this part of you was so inspiring to me, because I was like, I speak English, but I still make some mistakes, and I sometimes like forget that difference between she and he. Obviously, when I edit my videos, I noticed that. And when I began listening to your podcast like more often, I stopped worrying about my English that much. And I also asked you about like, you said that you were like blogging, or were you coaching on your native language, and also like, which is Czech, and in Spanish, and it didn't work out. Why didn't it work out?
It's interesting, but like you said at the beginning, like I learn in English.
Yeah.
I learn in English. Like I still speak Spanish. I'm fluent. I still speak Czech. I'm fluent. I was born there, but I don't connect to that culture anymore. I don't connect with the Czech culture. And when we go there, I visit, but United States is my home, and English is how I read all the books and have my
Yeah.
mentors. And so, it's interesting. So I connected with one friend here on we did Kundalini yoga.
Mm-hmm.
She's also Czech. I found her first on Instagram. Then by coincidence, we did same yoga class 40 minutes away from her house. So I don't even know what she was doing in my part of town, but we connected and she became my client. And the funny thing is that we speak together, we're both Czech, but we speak together in English.
Mm-hmm. So
Even
you
when I
don't switch to Czech?
no, there is sometimes like here and there we say like word or
Uh-huh.
things, but we both realize that there are many things we cannot explain in Czech, because I don't even know how would you translate podcast into Czech or Russian.
Really?
Do
In
you
Russian, it's just
know
podcast.
you
It's just
see
an
what I
English
mean?
word.
But there is no translation.
No,
You
no.
see what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like many words, and even like as a coaching and spirituality, love of attraction, it's like explaining for me something in Czech, it's so challenging. My mom, she told me like, can you do a guided meditation for me? For me, it's really challenging. I don't know how to describe the things in Czech anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because I am doing it every single day here in English.
Mm-hmm. But didn't have this feeling that like you have so much to teach people like in Czech Republic, but and like
They're not
by
ready.
no, not ready.
I feel, and that's my feeling, I'm out of Czech Republic for, oh my goodness, 16 years now. I moved to
Oh
London,
wow.
and I moved to Spain, then I moved to United States. But I feel like the people are opening there, but they're not ready, and it doesn't light me up. That's
That's
the
the
difference.
thing.
It doesn't light me up. So there will be people who will be over excited and over enjoy to be doing these things in
Yes.
Russian or Czech, but not me. So I would be forcing myself into feeling I'm responsible to teach them, but it doesn't light me up. So if I'm forcing myself, I'm doing disservice, because when I'm lit up, everything comes to me so easily. When you're lit up doing things you're doing, you're magnetic, and that's
Yes.
responsibility.
Yeah, I understand that, because I, for a long time, for like 3 years, I made it my mission to bring this knowledge into Russia. And I thought that I still think that it's like my limiting belief that Russians are not ready, because I have my sister, she's 12 years younger than me, she's 18. And like I teach her, she is ready, she's my target audience, and like everything I learn I teach her, and I see her change. And then I like come visit her stream, because she's streaming on Twitch, and she is telling this to her audience, and her audience is like also like 18 to 20 years old, and they understand her, and they say, wow, you should be like a psychologist, because coaching is not really a thing in Russia yet. So they say you should be like a psychologist, and they get her. But when I try to explain it like to the masses, I don't see response at all. And so, like, for a long time, I was thinking that this is my mission, but then I realized that it just doesn't light me up. I can't do it because I'm making myself do it, and then I like have a migraine for 4 days because I'm making myself. And then, but I still have like till this day, still have this feeling that like I'm kind of betraying, because I have people who would love to learn from me, but they're like, 2 or 3 people, and it's still draining when I explain it in Russian, because I feel like in English, when I talk about this, I'm like a few levels higher already, and it's not interesting for me to get back and like explain the basics.
Mm.
And so yeah.
I feel like you really get to check in with yourself, like you said, if your body's talking to you and you're tired and you're getting
Yeah.
migraine, something isn't right. And like when you say like 18-year-old are my target audience, great. You can teach your sister and she can teach others. She can
Yeah.
be a consultant. Yeah. It's not like I wouldn't speak to other people like in Czech, like my mom, I coach her. Um, and like help her and buy her books and things like that. It doesn't light me up, but it's family, right? Or my friend has a daughter who is 18, and I'm explaining her some things because I can see clearly, the negativity and depression and overthinking and
Mm-hmm.
overanalyzing, so I'm like, I resonate with that so much, but I cannot build my career on something that I would feel like I have to.
Yeah, like you're obligated to
You
explain
know,
things. Yeah.
the thing is that it's meant to be easy and it's meant to be effortless, and it's not your responsibility to save the world. It's your responsibility to feel your best and your highest, like raise your vibration, and by your being, listen, if there's somebody that comes to you and they're like, I absolutely love your mindset, I love your energy, I would love to work with you, well, then make it happen 101, right? Because
Yeah.
that person lights you up, that person is open-minded, but not because you feel like you came here like save the masses.
Yeah. I wonder where this, sense of mission comes from. I think I know, because like we look for our purpose all our life, and like we expect it to be something so big, and then it ends up like I ended up doing this, making this so big that it's just heavy for me. And yeah, we lead by example. And like when I treat myself bad, like while doing this, and when I'm not lit up, and like, yeah, this is just not a good example to give to people. That's
No,
true.
it's a great example because everybody needs to hear it so they can check in with themselves if they're doing things that don't align with them anymore. If they're feeling headache, if they're feeling tired, if they're feeling they should. And like you said, so often we are looking for our purpose in life and we think it has to be something so huge. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is that what I realized on my journey is your purpose is to be you.
Yeah, I did get that like a year ago, I think, because all my life I've been looking for this like huge purpose. And I still know a lot of people, at least in Russia, who are like, they have this vision that this purpose should be something like so huge and totally different from what you're doing now. So they're like answering questions, and they're looking like for something, and they go to like an astrologer or numerologist, astrologist, not astrologer, doesn't matter. And they ask like, what should I do? And this is what I'm actually talking about. Like when I was talking to my sister about this today, and I said, I see Russians, like for the most part, as people who are still looking for like a quick fix. It's easier for them to go to an astrologist and ask them like what should I do, and they would say like at the age of 30 you will become rich, or like at the age of like 15 you will do this and that, and then they just sit there and wait. And of course I'm not talking about everybody, but this is just how I feel. And when I feel like that, I can't teach people how to, change their life.
You can, but what happens is that you get to first understand yourself and what lights you up and what is your way of being, right? When you know what is
Mhm.
your way of being and what lights you up, you will do it regardless. Like when I started my podcast, nobody was listening. When I started my videos, nobody was watching. You know what I mean? Now my podcast, and I checked it a few months ago, I don't even know, recently, had over 100,000 downloads.
I saw that story that you posted. I was like, wow, this is huge. I still
It
check like every day.
and it's interesting. It's like why you're checking, like, does it really matter, or are you checking for feedback, how you can like serve people better, to see like what they're listening more. It's not what we do but why we do that.
I don't know. I just check because I'm interested. But like, even if I had one person listening or maybe zero people listening, I would still do it. And this is the question I kept asking myself, like for the past 3 years, when I felt like I wanted to make a decision whether to make content just in English or just in Russian. It was like a big deal for me. And then I heard it, like, I think it's from Abraham, maybe also. They said that you need to make a decision and just live with it and like feel the energy. And so first I decided that like I'm going to do it just in Russian. Will I just quit doing everything in English? No, I will just do it because like just for me. And if I do it just in English, then like will I be doing it in Russian? Uh, like if I'm asked, this was this energy of like I have to versus in English. In English, it was like I just want to, and I still do it. And like this is why I just check because I'm curious, like how many people listen. Because every time I upload a new episode, I'm so excited because I think that this is gold. Everybody should know that. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, and also it's searchable back, right? Like I still have people who are listening to the podcast like that were released months or years ago, so it's not
Yeah.
like it's a waste. So
This is a good thing about podcasts.
mhm.
But this is how I do it. Like when I just started listening to podcasts, I was a huge fan of Viola Hogg. And I was just binge listening to all her, like everything. I just started from the very beginning of a podcast. But now, like, and it's overwhelming, and there are a lot of information that you just don't get because you're not at the level of your teacher. And now I just like I'm subscribed to a bunch of podcasts, and I just like search some phrases that are necessary, like important for me in the search box, and it just searches all the podcasts that I follow. And this is why, yeah, I sometimes just find episodes that were recorded like 2 years ago, and like I find value in them. This is why I love podcasts.
Me too, because you never know who needs to hear it. I remember when I heard, 4 years ago, the podcast from Lori Harder, and I was just listening to her introduction podcast, and she was talking there about, her family and her like how, her like body dysmorphia and how she hated herself, and now
Oh,
see her, she's a millionaire and she has a loving beautiful marriage, and she's hosting like events, live events for women. I'm like, wow,
mhm.
if she could do this, I could do that. So it really
Yeah.
inspired me. That was her first episode, that was like years and years old.
Mhm.
So you never know what you put out there that will be delivered to the perfect person at the perfect time.
But this is why I love listening to personal stories. And you are a transformation coach, and this is like I wrote down a question for you, like what were the major transformations that you had to go through that led you to where you are right now, like comparing to where you've been when you were in, what was it, marketing business?
Yes, yes. So
So
it's interesting, because I feel that everything, it's part of everything. So even the things that I did in my first business, social media marketing agency, it
Mm-hmm.
helped me to be where I am today, because I still help my clients with their social media presence, so they attract their sponsors and clients and their tribe, right? So it's I did transform, but I still kept pieces
Mm-hmm.
of it. So I feel like nothing is ever wasted in our lives.
Yeah, that's true. And I was like, since I a few podcast episodes ago realized that like I was doing these exercises that I heard about from like different podcasts about how to find your niche, how to find your soup, your cocktail, like people call it differently. And I realized that I want to talk about relationship. I like, this is what I do best, because before that it was just the law of attraction. It was about everything, relationship, money, like everything I learned I was just sharing. And then when I began doing those exercises, I realized that like this is what I do with people around me. I manifested love, and like my point A was very low. Like I learned a lot of like terrible shitty limiting beliefs about like relationship and how to build relationship from my family. And like it was just every other relationship was just a disaster after a disaster. And then I managed to just come out of it and heal and shift and manifest my husband. And now I want to teach people like about that. And because of that, I wanted to ask you also, who were you before, like before you met your husband? And what, how do I say it? The thing is that when we want to manifest love, and when we hear phrases like quotes like you need to become the person that you want to attract, we're like, no, but it sounds like too much work. What does it have to do with me? I just want to be loved. Like, why is it so difficult? And then you realize that like it's true, and you kind of need to go through that transformation. And so I was wondering, who were you before, and how did you have to change, or maybe not have to, how did you change to manifest your husband?
I love that question, because the thing it's really about who are you being, not what are you doing. I was doing all the right things on
Mm-hmm.
a paper, and it didn't lead to right results because I wasn't being true to who I really am. So who do I had to become was a person who knows her boundaries, who knows her values, who knows her non-negotiables. And
Mm-hmm.
I just knew I said this or something better, and I was journaling about it, and I was journaling in a sense like I already have it. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm in loving loyal relationship, because all of my exes cheated on me in the past. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, no more cheating. I want a loyal, faithful man who loves family, who is healthy, who loves adventuring and traveling. And it's just like I decided that I will rather be alone than being in another
Yeah.
relationship, because I lost myself always. It's not about the man, but I lost myself because I was thinking I have to be serving, I have to be loving, I have to be pleasing. So,
Treat others the way you want them to treat you,
but
was
it
that
doesn't
quote
work.
that just, yeah, it just screws
Yeah,
you
but
up.
it doesn't work because I was not doing it out of love. I
But
was
because
doing it out of
expected.
fear. No, I was
Mm-hmm.
doing it out of fear. I didn't want to
Oh.
be alone. I didn't want them to leave me. So I was giving from place of fear, which creates resentment, which creates fraction, and it doesn't work. And now when I do things, it's because I choose to, and
Mm-hmm.
it feels good. And of course, sometimes there are things that don't feel good, but they're not the right things to do, like do the dishes, even when it's my husband's turns, because his love language is, like acts of service. So I know he
Mm-hmm.
really appreciates when I do these things, even when it's his turn. So it's just like you have to know yourself. That's a non-negotiable. Knowing yourself, knowing what you stand for, knowing what are your desires and non-negotiables. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. I am 37 now, so it's like when I was going through the life, I was like, I don't know, like if I want to have a kid, and if I will have them, I want to have them with a partner who is like reliable and will support me. And so I got everything I ever dreamed of and so much more, because I declare that I'm not going to settle. I
For
declare
less.
they are my desires. And there was a time that I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm asking too much, and that day, when I was driving, I passed on a red light, and I was looking at my phone, and I saw back then. Now I have a do not disturb on 24/7. Nobody can get to me. But back then I had notification on, and I saw one coach that I follow here in Las Vegas posted on Facebook. So I just swiped to see it. And she said, don't ever settle. If I would have
Mm-hmm.
settled, I wouldn't meet my husband and blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah. And that was like the universe sending me message.
That's
So
so
I,
cool.
2 weeks later, I met my husband.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
It's
Me too.
just so amazing. Do you think, like, you said that at some point you realized that, like, you are ready to be like without a relationship if you don't meet somebody who is just like exactly what you want. Do you think it is important to go through this phase to manifest love? Because it was my experience too. And my mom was pushing me when I was 26. She was like, you are not doing anything to look for a husband. Like, you need to go somewhere and you just sit in front of your PC, because I was working from home. And I manifested my husband on the internet just by sitting home, and but then it was time for me. It was like a big decision, a big step in my life, to accept it and to admit it to everyone, including myself. And it was even scary to to say to my mom than to myself that maybe I'm not looking for a relationship. And maybe, like, if I don't find what I want, then I'm fine to be without relationship for the rest of my life. I was at that level of self-love, that I was ready to accept the fact that I don't want people to treat me badly. And if I don't know how to build good relationship, and like I will learn, but maybe I will never find anybody, and I'm fine with that. And this is when I met my husband, when I
It's
just released all the resistance.
it's the detachment, with or without, and I'm fine. So it's like surrendering to the universe, surrendering to the divine, like, what's better for me, right? So it's like the surrender, because when we're pushing and pursuing and just like going for it, it's not going to be attracting things that are true to you, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Because
meant.
you're like in this chasing energy.
Yep. And when we chase, we push away.
Yeah.
It's when you surrender, and it's not saying I don't want it. I wanted relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I wanted relationship, but I didn't need it. That's the
Mm-hmm.
difference. I want it, and I was, and I just love how you were saying at the beginning. Wouldn't it be nice? So that's energy I was in. Wouldn't it be nice to go to a nice restaurant with my partner? Wouldn't it be nice to go shopping together so I don't have to do it all alone? Wouldn't it be nice to go hiking together? So it would be like this dream state, and that
Mm-hmm.
the energy of that feels in your body different than like, oh, this sucks, I hate being alone, and I hate this, and why nobody likes me, and I don't like doing groceries alone, and I'm so lonely. And it's like this desperate energy and neediness. And if you like it or not, people feel your energy.
Yeah,
It's
that's
louder
true.
than anything you do or anything you will say. You detached from, oh, I need someone. You're like, oh, yeah, if I find someone and it's nice, okay. But if it's not, I wouldn't settle, because we saw it on our parents and grandparents. What
Yeah.
does it look like when we settle and it's too much pain?
Mm-hmm. Did you have to set your boundaries, like, with the men that were just lower than your standards? Did it happen often when you just learn how to love yourself and how to set your standards high?
It's interesting, because in the moment that I declare that I am not going to settle for anything less than, um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember attracting men less than.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like, you're on a higher vibration, and even if they're like surrounding me like wolves, I wouldn't be able to
You
see.
just didn't notice, yeah.
I really didn't notice at all. So it's interesting, but I feel like once you raise your vibration, once you are feeling better and
Mm-hmm.
different, it's just only the people who can match the energy will come. Like my husband, he's a coach too. He's a podcaster too. He hosts retreats too. So We understand each other. I cannot imagine to be with someone who is in 9 to 5. It's like regular job. It's not because they're less than me, but I don't resonate with that energy. I need somebody who can be at home with our kids, or we want to travel, or we want to go for a month to Europe. We go.
Mm-hmm. How do you maintain that level of, detachment when you manifest like something in your business or like money, for example?
Mm.
Because this is like the question I still like, I sometimes just, it feels like I catch a vibe, and I'm like, oh, I get it. And then the next moment I don't get it, because, it's easier to say that if I don't find a relationship that I want, I'm fine without it. You can't really say if I don't find money for the rest of my life, I'm going to be fine without it.
You would be. Just think about it. Up until this moment, you were always taken care of.
Yeah,
You're
I
living
was.
somewhere, you're not homeless, you have your computer, you have your mic, you have your headset, you have your phone, and how many other beautiful things you have. So think about it. Even if you say, like, if I don't have money, I know I will be always taken care of, because we sometimes think that money has to come through us, and it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It can come through family, it can come through loved ones, it can come as a gift. Like, we are so attached to how it's normally coming through normal job or through coaching or whatever it is, but that's really just the channel. It's not the source of the money. The source is divine. The abundance, it's everywhere. Abundance of air, abundance of your heartbeat,
Yeah.
abundance of like freedom. Like, listen, girl, the times that we live in, we're not living in a world like our grandparents
Oh,
did.
yeah.
You see, so sometimes we were watching movies, and even we were watching movie, and it was like piece of it was like in South Africa. I'm like, oh my God, I'm
Mm-hmm.
so thankful we are living where we are living, because it's challenging still nowadays, right? In some parts of the world. So you just gotta realize you're always taken care of, and then ask yourself, the way I'm treating money, would I like to be treated? Because I realized through my life and my business, and I'm still working on it, Dasha. When I was in corporate, my dream was making like $5,000. Then my dream was making 10, then 15, then 20. You know what I mean? Like, it always keep rising.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I realize it's that the more I push and I try to think about like how and strategy, for me that doesn't work, because it doesn't light me up. I don't want to be doing freaking spreadsheets and like plan ahead. I have a people for it now in my business, but when I started, it was all on me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was overwhelming. So I told my husband, the more fun I have, the more I relax, the more money I make. It works for me. I don't know how or why, but it works for me. And I tried it. I like the first 2 weeks of May, I was freaking out because our wedding was planned to be double the budget that we have. And
Mm-hmm.
because we are working with fertility doctor, because after the summer we want to start working on a baby, so I wanted
Mm-hmm.
our bodies to be super clean and healthy. It's tens of thousands of dollars that we're investing in our growth, in our mentors, and I'm so
Mm-hmm.
thankful that we can. But I'm like all these extra, where are we going to get it? And I freaked out, because we are talking about tens of thousands of dollars. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
I need a couple hundred more. So the
Yeah.
first 2 weeks in May, I freaked out, and I'm like, how are we going to do it, and what are we going to do? And I was like in my head, and everything freezed. No income. Well, I had like income coming in, but no new income, no new
Uh-huh.
clients. I'm like, but I need the extra. Where is my stuff? And I was freaking out. And then I told my husband the second week of May, I'm like, honey, this doesn't work for me. I cannot be freaking out. I cannot be stressing, and I cannot be planning and strategizing. I gotta relax. So I'm going to be tanning for the rest of the day in the backyard. And he was like, okay. And then the next week, I made like almost 5 figures.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, I know what works for me. I gotta do what lights me up. For some people, my mentor, she's doing between 100 and $600,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
A month. That's something that I'm aiming to do in a year one day. She's doing it a month, but she's analytical. She's analytical. She loves strategies. That's what lights her up. That's what turns her on. That's how she makes her money. I do
Mm-hmm.
my money when I'm being myself. I do my money when I am just inspiring other women to what's possible for them. I transform their lives. I set them for success and possibilities. I teach them what worked for me on my journey.
So when
I'm
you say you get out of your head, you literally mean it. Like you don't think, you try to like
not,
be in
not,
the meditative
not,
state.
not, it's not meditative state. It's like I don't overthink, I don't overanalyze, I trust. I
Mm-hmm.
look for the evidence. I look for the evidence, like when were the times that I was freaking out and it worked out? When were the times that I unexpectedly got money? When were the times that I got client out of the blue? And it's so fascinating. It's like I cannot plan these things. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, like my latest client, she heard me on a podcast that was recorded last year and she
Mm-hmm.
completely resonated with what I heard. She sent me an email, schedule call, and hired me right away on that call. My other client, she interviewed me on her podcast and she was like, Petia, oh my God, I want to live like you live. I want to, and she's a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I don't want to be more unapologetic. I am undercharging my clients. I want to be more like you. I'm like, okay. And she hired me. Like, how can I plan for these?
Yeah. Did you ever have a client or who just didn't want like I it was me like a few years ago. I was thinking that I just don't want to do anything for money. I just want money to come. Did you have clients who just didn't see themselves working in some area? They just wanted to be abundant? Or
Um,
it just
like,
always leads to some, activity like coaching or I don't know, some spiritual work, light work.
no, really, it doesn't. It doesn't have to lead to work. The thing is that for me, so right now, Dasha, I'm working like 2, 3 days a week. That's my maximum.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have 5-figure months with
Mm-hmm.
ease. What we are doing right now, it's similar to what I'm doing on my coaching, but it's more like intimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just being myself and being abundantly paid to be me. I don't consider it hard work or work, right? But you get to realize that the abundance can come to you. I don't like, I was telling my husband, how can I work even less and make even more money and more impact? Like, that's what I'm here for. Like,
Yeah.
in my human design, it's in my chart. I am here to find a shortcut and teach it to others. My dharma,
Oh, this is so cool.
my dharma, it's a teacher. So teaching lights me up. I love doing it. I don't care if I do it through podcast, if I do it through coaching, retreat, or just speaking to someone over the coffee. So I had a client that I met in a birthday party, and we went for a lunch because she was from Europe too. She was from, I believe, Ukraine, and
Mm-hmm.
she moved here to United States just recently, and we went for a lunch because I just love people from our part of the world, right? So I'm biased. We went for a lunch, and she wasn't in a position to hire me as her one-on-one coach as of yet because she moved here recently, but she invested in a retreat that I'm hosting in June.
Mm-hmm.
So it's meant to be easy. It doesn't have to be through the work. You just get to believe that you're always taken care of, and it can come from expected and unexpected sources.
I just love your energy and how you talk about this. Would you say that building relationship with your husband is work, like it's hard work? You remember when people used to say, and like my mom used to say that a lot, that relationship is hard work.
I don't believe anything is hard work, really. I believe that, it's, I was reading a book a couple of years ago, and it says the relationships that work are the ones that we work on. We work on our relationship consciously and intentionally. So we don't work hard, but
Mm-hmm.
we put in the work. It's like we are intentional. When we started dating with my now husband, we did weekly dates. It was like
Mm-hmm.
a weekly review of our relationship. What worked, what didn't work, what did we love, and what made us want to back off. Listen, you gotta be really honest with your partner, because listen, there were times that I was telling myself at the beginning of our relationship, wouldn't I be better by myself? Like,
Yeah.
when he was dealing with his business partner, when he was switching businesses and there was no income, I'm like, this is challenging. Wouldn't it be better by myself? And so you just check in with yourself. But we talk about these things. There was a clear communication. And now we don't do that weekly dates. So we don't do weekly review, but we do weekly dates. Like every Friday afternoon, turn off all the technology and we are present to each other. We go to new restaurants or park or float tank. We do something together. And so we are intentional about making our relationship the best,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not hard work. It's not
Yeah.
like, if you work on your relationship from the beginning, then there is this flow of communication. And we the 5 love languages.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I just heard like the short
Like,
version of it.
no, that's plenty. That's good enough. So what did we do? A couple months ago with my husband, we took the test together. You can do
Mm-hmm.
it just online on the website for the couple. We
Mm-hmm.
took the test, and then we realized what are our top priority, the love languages, the top or three, the top ones. We wrote them down, and then we asked the other. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my love language, my primary love language is touch. So I told him, I love when we are in a public and you hug me. I love when you play with my hair. I love when you give me feet massage. I love when you wash my back in the shower, right? So that's what I love. My second primary language, it's quality time. I love when we go for a walk with our dog. I love when we do picnic in the park. I love when you don't look at your phone and we watch movies together. We
Mm-hmm.
wrote these, and I have mine in my bathroom. He has my things in his bathroom. So we see that every day. We
Mm-hmm.
care. It's not hard work, but we care.
It's just talking, a lot of talking. I realized that because at first we dated, it was a long distance thing with my
Me
husband.
too. We
Yeah,
too.
and it's such a good opportunity to learn how to talk, because back then I was still learning how to set my boundaries, and there were times often when I would just don't like something, and I would just decide that okay, he's not, like, that's not it, it's just too much work, I don't want to do it. And then he would get back to me and he would just say, you just could say that and explain things. And this is how I learned to explain, and to realize that no one can actually read your mind, and you need to negotiate, you need to talk about your feelings, and you need to let people know how you feel and what you think and what you want. So talking, a lot of talking is what, like, it's crucial for the relationship.
I truly believe that communication is everything. Communication, it's really everything.
Yeah.
And it's not about like a lot of talking. I think it's, again, it goes back into being intentional, like intentional talking, right? Because
Well,
listen, Dasha,
yeah.
you can sit for 5 hours and talk, 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 talk,
Yeah,
and
about the
don't
weather,
get
for example.
anywhere. Mhm.
Yeah.
But when you're intentional, like we had like set of questions that we're asking each other every week to check
Hmm.
in. So being really intentional and knowing what is important to you.
Yeah, that's true. And I also love the part where I now am responsible for my feelings, because I remember, like, in my previous relationship, I was like guessing and he feels bad. Oh my God, what should I do? And now, like, it's our boundary. Like, those are healthy boundaries. When I feel down, it's my job to
Mhm.
work through it.
Yeah.
And I can let him know that, like, you said that and I felt hurt, for example, but then I go and journal and, like, shift all the triggers, and he's working on his emotions. And this is just such a relief when you don't need to jump because he's in a bad mood, and, like, you're trying to make him feel better.
Yep, no, the same. Like we give each other space. And I remember at the beginning of our relationship, it was like pissing me off when I was like mad or I was in a bad mood. And he was like, well, it's your responsibility to feel better, not mine, because you cannot drag me with you. And I'm like, oh, right? Because
Make me happy.
yes. And it's interesting, but like he cares. He was like, honey, would you like to go to the park? Would you like shower? How can I support you? But he doesn't take the responsibility. If I'm in a bad mood, he doesn't take it personally. If he is going through his emotional waves, because he's manifesting generator in human design,
Mm-hmm.
they go through emotional waves. It's normal. It has nothing to do with me. It doesn't mean he loves me less, he cares less, just going through his waves. So I let him go. I go watch a movie or I go for a walk. Like, I'm here if you need me, but I'm not going to be here saving you.
This is so cool. Who are you? You're a generator?
Yes.
Me too. When I learned that, well, actually, when I learned who, like, I don't know much about human design. My sister is a big fan, and like, honestly, she's the only person who can talk to me about human design, like in a way that doesn't piss me off. Because when I started learning about human design, I thought it's the same structure where you have this talent and you can achieve that, and like another person doesn't have that, like this talent, and they can do it. And I was like, everybody can do everything they want. I strongly disagree. And then my sister was explaining how it works, and when I learned that generators are people who just can work nonstop when they're inspired, I was like, this is my problem. And I needed to learn how to stop working at some point, because I just like, this is a constant process of me getting inspired and then working and then pushing through, because I'm not inspired anymore, but I need to finish. And then like an inspiration hit again during the process, and I was just exhausted.
Hmm. And like you get to like do things that light you up, yes, but also create a space for you to rest and rejuvenate,
Yeah.
or doing things that are lighting you up but resting you too, because in this human body you get to rest and rejuvenate.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Petia, I asked everything I wanted to ask. And the last question is, how can people work with you? How can I work with you like in the future? Because I really want like you to coach me, but I'm not at that level financially yet, but I'm going there, and you're going to be my coach at some point.
You're amazing. And I love that, because declaring to the universe, this is my desire and it will happen like one way or other. Like I said, you don't have to make money for it. You can get a money, somebody can help you sponsor, you can get a gift. You never know how it can come to you. So I'm very selective of who I work with. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like, I remember one girl, she messaged me on Instagram. She was like, oh my God, I absolutely love your energy. How can I work with you? I went to your website and there was no link I can click to work with you. I'm like, girl, I'm not clickable at this point in my business. You cannot click and work with me. I get to like you, and I get
Mm-hmm.
to, because I'm so deeply devoted to my clients and their
Yeah, you
growth.
need to be excited. Exactly.
Exactly. So for me, you can check out my website,
Mm-hmm.
that's like the best place. And I also have like website where you can just check it out. And if you want, Dasha, I can send it to you later so like people can look at it.
Yeah, I will add it to the show notes.
But I have like work with me,
Mm-hmm.
that people can, it's called attractyourabundance.com.
Okay. Will you send it to me on Insta?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's how you can see like different ways how you can work with me. There one-on-one, my retreats, and one thing that I think it's not on the website is I also do like intensive sessions, like 90 minutes intensive session for
Mm,
those who are not in a place yet
uh-huh.
to, do 3 months coaching with me. I have also 90 minutes intensive sessions that I can help you to build the foundation and just have you fly. And that's only 777,
Mhm.
so it's very easily affordable.
Tell me a little bit about your retreats, because it seems like you are very much into your retreats, because you just have one after another.
It's interesting because I really find out that being in person, it's just priceless. The energy that you can shift in a week or in a weekend, it's years of work that we can do there, really. So each of them, it's a little bit different.
Do you
I did
plan them?
one, what is it?
Do you plan them? Like, do you have a program for them?
Uh, Not really. Not really.
Just
So for
improvising.
it's not improvising. I would say it's like, so for me, what I do is, and that's what I do also in my business, it's feminine flow and the
Mm-hmm.
strategy. So I marry those two. So when I host a retreat, it's when I get an inspired idea, I get downloads on what to
Mm-hmm.
do. And then I just, it just comes to me. It's not like my husband, he can sit in the computer and just write everything down. He just, like, he can plan ahead. For me, that doesn't light me up. I'm in a shower, I'm working out, I'm on a walk, and I'm like, and I get an idea, like I get like a word or sentence, and then it just inspires me. So for example, the retreat that I'm hosting now in June 18, it's called Abundantly Aligned, because
Mm-hmm.
what I realized, it's really not about what do we do, but how aligned we really are. So this weekend, it's for women only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's all about alignment. So I will have Kundalini, ecstatic dance. I will have sound bath healing, breath work, and like beautiful rituals. Like we will do cacao, ceremonial cacao. So it's amazing and beautiful. And we have a private vegan chef in a house with pool. So even if you just escape for a weekend to
Yeah.
Vegas and you have everything taken care of, nothing ever happened there, it's already worth it.
Yeah, it just
But
sounds lovely.
these shifts are amazing. It's amazing.
Do they
So
stay like, or do they last long, or like
the
when
shift,
people,
it's life
the
changing.
shifts? Yeah.
It's life changing because you can never go back. You can never go back. Like some of my clients, they attracted love. Some of them, like I had a client who hadn't had a work for a year. She was living
Mm-hmm.
on her savings. She hired me as her coach. 2 weeks later, she went and bought the retreat that we did in Mexico, in Tulum. And when
Mm-hmm.
I asked, what is your intention for this retreat? She was like, I would just like to have a job, because for a year I didn't have a job. Next month you get a job. So
Yeah.
these shifts are life changing. You can never go back and be the same person. You can. You're surrounded with high vibe energy. I'm selective of who is coming. So it's amazing. I had a
That's
girl,
true.
one of my clients, she's from Hungary. She flew for my retreat to Las Vegas and Mexico.
Oh, you don't just have your retreats in Las Vegas. You sometimes go there, like go somewhere else.
I did Bali. I did Mexico. We are planning Costa Rica and Bali this year still. So there's lots to come.
This is so cool. Thank you so much for your time. And you're just so lovely. And you guys, you should totally subscribe to Petia's podcast, Unapologetically Abundant, because she's sharing so much wisdom there and her beautiful energy. And thank you so much, Petty. I love you so much. Mwah.
Thank you, Dasha. You're amazing. And please keep checking in with yourself, what lights you up, and like really trust yourself and your truth, because that's what this world really needs. Like
Yeah,
you, everything else will unfold. Just trust it. And
I
thank you for
will.
having me. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye. Have a lovely rest of your day.